I blame myself because clearly my my work of branding is not doing a very good job. I'm not. There's no brand recall.
Oh my god! Yeah.
Hello and welcome to episode 247 of the Rockstar CMO effing marketing podcast. It's Saturday the 7th of December. I hope you've had a good week and you are well and you're staying as sane as you feel you need to be. I'm your host, Ian Truscott. I'm not a rock star, but I am a CMO. And on this podcast, I chat with chums and share our marketing street knowledge that we hope will bring out the rockstar marketer in you. Come say hello. You can find us at rockstarcmo.com or Rockstar CMO on LinkedIn. A shorter episode this week as Robert was on a plane and not in the bar on Friday, so it's just me and Jeff, and he shares 5 reasons CMOs get fired in his last episode before he leaves for his holiday break. But first, we need to pay the bar tab. I'll be back in a moment.
We'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by Etsy.
Oh.
Hear that?
Okay. Thank you.
Etsy knows these aren't the sounds of holiday gifting. Well, not the ones you're hoping for. You want squeals of delight. Happy tears.
How did you?
And spontaneously written songs of joy.
I am so happy. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, the song needs a bit of work, but anyway, to get those reactions, make sure everyone on your list feels heard with handmade, handpicked, and designed gifts from small shops on Etsy. Gifts like personalized jewelry, custom artwork, cozy style items, vintage pieces, and home decor to celebrate all of your favorite people and their specific kind of special. For original gifts that say, I get you, Etsy has it.
Is it time to reimagine your future? The right business skills may make a difference in your career. At Capella University, we offer a relevant education that's designed to focus on what you need to know in the business world. We'll teach professional skills to help you pursue your goals, like business management, strategic planning, and effective communication. And you can apply these skills right away. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
On to our first segment, the Marketing Studio with Jeff Clark, our resident strategist and former Forrester Research Director.
Hello, Ian. Welcome to the CMO Rockstar Studio.
Thank you, mate. I thought we were calling it the Rockstar CMO Studio.
Isn't that what I said?
I think you said the CMO Rockstar. Anyway.
Oh, geez. The CMO Rockstar Studio. Well, we're here talking about CMOs who are rock stars or not.
Yes. Well, I blame myself because clearly my my work of branding is not doing a very good job. I'm not. There's no brand recall.
Oh my god! Yeah.
How are you, mate?
If
How's
I can't recall the brand, I don't know. Maybe I got a head cold or something. Doing fine. We had our first substantial snow of the year, so I spent the first part of the morning shoveling snow. Yeah, and it was kind of a heavy, wet snow. But then the sun came out and makes everything sparkle, so that's good.
Nice, very nice.
How about you? You had snow when I talked to you guys a couple weeks ago.
We're well past that now. And today we are being, some parts of our country anyway, are being warned about wind and rain. We've got some wind and rain, but we haven't got it as bad as I think some other places. I think there's the remnants of a storm from, I don't know whether it's come across the Atlantic, it's come from somewhere and it's kicking off. So we've got that going on, which isn't normal for December, but hey, that's what we've got going on. And I hate to break it to the listeners, but this is going to be our last conversation for a few weeks. You're off
for the year 2024. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Heading off to Norway again. As I every couple of times a year, I take a break and head off there to see my son and family. So, yeah.
Love it, man. Love it. Well, I don't love it because obviously I enjoy talking to you every week, but you getting set to spend time with family is good. And you've suggested this week's topic, which I think it's going to be traumatizing for me.
You're reluctant to.
And it seems like you want to leave 2024 with a massive mic drop, from what I can say. So we're going to go with 5 reasons why CMOs get fired. And you've crossed the aisle from Forrester to Gartner for inspiration on this one, as it's a LinkedIn post from Chris Ross, who's the VP analyst at Gartner for CMOs and marketing. And I thought this is a bit facetious, really, because I know you're a former analyst as well, but I was quite shocked. But he's actually a former CMO rather than a career pontificator, which a lot of these analysts are. So I thought that was quite
true. But it is good when either with Gartner or Forrester, where they're CMO advisory services, and they all call them something different, but it's like typically people who've been in the seat before.
Yeah. No, so I didn't know him, and I've started following some of his stuff on LinkedIn. It looks like good work. So as I might be too emotionally invested in this, so I'm going to give you a little bit of the setup. What say you, Jeff?
Well, first thing is you said reasons they get fired, and I just want to say that the way the people at Gartner phrase it is scenarios would most likely lead to the removal of your CMO from their role. So it's a little soft peddling of what actually happens. Yeah, like, we don't need you anymore.
Yeah, I think that should be scenarios would most likely lead to the CMO spending more time with their family.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. So anyway, this was a survey they did of the senior executives, CEOs, CFOs, et cetera.
All right.
They report on LinkedIn. And so, if you want to know more behind the data, you're going to have to book a call with Chris Ross or somebody else on the Gartner CMO team. And so, but the conclusions and some of the comments, because this was posted on LinkedIn, and so some of the comments from people are kind of like, well, duh. It's kind of like, duh. A few surprises, maybe surprises in terms of, what the rankings are or something like that. But I thought, to put a positive spin on this is that given that we often talk about advice to help CMOs succeed, this is an opportunity to remind our listeners of how to avoid pitfalls. So here's a pitfall, and hey, here's how to avoid it.
Yeah. And also, we've talked about pitfalls before, haven't we, with Grant, or maybe it was just me, but with Grant Johnson, a former boss of ours, who's over at CMOmentor.com, if people are interested in the pontification of he's like a 7-time CMO or something ridiculous. Every time I check, it's higher. Yeah. Like a 24-time CMO. No, he's a very good chap, and he knows an awful lot about being a CMO. And so Grant Johnson, CMO mentor there, and I'll include a link to his stuff in the show notes as well, because I think he's talked about some of these things. And as I pointed out, this could be trauma therapy for me, but let's give it a go. And in that piece, Gartner identified 7 reasons, but I love this, Jeff. You're sticking to our editorial policy, and you've summarized it to just a top 5.
I want to be here all day. So,
well, I think we observed there's similarities between some of them, and I think we'll notice some of those as well as we go. So, what's the first reason that the CMO gets to spend more time with his family and is shown the door?
The CMO failed to deliver promised results from marketing strategy. So this was 69%. By the way, they rank they have the people who are surveyed get to rank their top 1, 2, 3. Okay. And so in the LinkedIn post, it'll show you what was ranked number 1, but also shows you the score from its inclusion in the top 3. So anyway, failure to deliver on results. So interestingly, this is both an execution and a communication problem as opposed to necessarily a strategic alignment problem. So from the execution perspective, the team, is the team able to achieve goals from which, there may be an inability to properly direct or manage the team, and actually, I should rephrase that because I think I've muddled my own words. So one problem could be, the team, was able to achieve or was not able to achieve the goals, and there was like no idea about why they were unable to do that. And was this a management issue? You can't get the team going and manage them. And then there's the communication issue, which the CMO is not able to report on goal achievement or properly identify and address gaps or dependencies in terms of achieving those goals. So, so in one case, not able to execute. Other case, you may be able to execute, but we don't understand. We don't understand what they were doing.
Nobody knew.
Yeah, and if there were issues in achieving or reporting on goals, like skills gaps, data gaps, technology, things we talk about a lot, then those should have been identified at the beginning of the CMO's tenure or the year that he's reporting on, and then those could be addressed, further down the road, and then. One of the things that we uncovered in episode number 75, the plan to a plan is that, and we covered this, I think, in a number of subsequent episodes, is that when you're doing your planning process, I mean, you really have to understand, the company has a strategy and a goal. We've got a strategy and a goal to support that. I'm going to report back on it. And you want to make sure that you're very succinct and be able to tell that story of what you're planning to do and how you're going to report on it later in the year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that, I mean, we've sort of gone through all of these 7 and down to 5, and I think there's a big part of communication here, isn't there? So, but I also think, because I thought maybe I'd take a little bit of the CMO position on some of these things, right, and not take it too personally, but I think the phrase there, CMO failed to deliver on promised results from marketing strategy. I think sometimes, I'm not sure if promised results is the right phrase, really. I think it's delivery on expectations. And, you're so right about communication being core to that, right? So, and we've discussed, as you pointed out previously on the podcast, about having those clear goals. So I think the delivery of promised results, I think, sometimes, like I say, I think it's just the expectations of the senior suite, what they were expecting marketing to do, pull a rabbit out of a hat probably, and then when they didn't. So the first one there, CMO failed to deliver promised results from marketing strategy. What's the second reason?
The CMO failed to adapt to vital, significant changes in the business or the marketplace. So this got a 58% score. So the ability to adapt to changing circumstances, can be, I mean, it's a pitfall for any senior executive. You're supposed to be able to see what's ahead and move the staff in a direction that focuses on whatever the new realities are. And that could be, business goals changed in the middle of the year. It could be, oh my gosh, we're being creamed in the market by some new competitor, and so we need to adjust. And if you're hired for a particular skill, like say you're hired to build a demand function, and then all of a sudden the issue is different. We've got a branding issue, we've got a customer satisfaction issue, then you need to bring that expertise on board. And if you're hired because you have your experience in, maybe the company's main market, but then the company is expanding or shifting, then you need to bring that expertise on board. If you're changing to a narrow account model from, more of a broad-based model, then, again, you need to bring that and expertise on board. So you got to think of yourself as an executive who marshals resources and sets direction, not just, a person with a particular skill set. And I think that's can be a common issue for CMOs. And, we discussed this. There's a number of ways we discuss this. One is we discussed, the being agile versus agile methodology in episode 79. And then we also, I did a blog a little while ago on what's your business in a year of transformation, which, I did that when we were, I think the year after the pandemic started. And the thing is, there were lots of transitions. And so, it's like, how do you rethink about the business when everything's in flux?
Yeah, and also that thing we talked about when we were looking at the first 90 days book and that model that came out of that, the STARS model. Yeah. I think it was STARS model. And it's really understanding what is the key challenge and what your company is and what they're trying to achieve, I think. I think is what you're saying. And then if there's a pivot that happens. But I mean, again, I'm going to take the position that I think there's two sides to this particular statement. And I think, again, some of it is about communication and goals. But I think when there's a significant change in the market, it needs the whole business to pivot, not just marketing. And I think whenever there's a big change or a big jolt in the business or in the market, or marketing seems to be treated like the canary in the coal mine. If the environment gets toxic, then they pay for it by falling off the perch, is how I describe it. Like we're then let's kill marketing, and it's like, well, marketing's going to die. And I think there's a subtlety to this, and I don't think it's always marketing that should take the fall.
Correct. And when any business is in gets into certainly into a crisis mode, but even when things seem to be going south, so to speak, it's like, sales may point at marketing, sales might point at services might point at the product, it's like you get, and I think marketing, because as we often say, almost everybody thinks that they understand marketing, whereas, very few people will admit to being able to understand how to run a services organization. So it's like, it tends to get unfair knocks, if you will. Off that perch.
And also I think as well, when we see this so frequently because marketing, however hard we try, is often considered a cost. And when the business is going through a difficult moment, it's the first thing it looks at. But of course, marketing isn't a cost, it's an investment. And if you then de-invest in marketing or sales, then you're going to lose momentum in the market, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, doesn't it? It just
it snowballs.
Exactly. So I think, it's a challenging one. So that was number 2. The CMO failed to adapt to vital, significant changes in the business on the marketplace and had to go. So what's number 3?
The CMO did not earn the respect of senior executive leadership team. So this got a 54% score. And there's steps that need to be taken, upon hiring, that you need to fulfill on number 1 and number 2, and one of those is do a discovery process with the exec team. What is the company trying to accomplish? How can marketing help? How can we best interact with your function, sales, services, et cetera? So this is essential for maintaining the relationship, between marketing and other functions. Plus it helps you in your campaign design, your service functions to the other teams, but in particularly into the executive level reporting, because you got to know the questions that the business execs will ask, and they may not be obvious unless you have those conversations. And that's kind of how you learn respect, is like, he heard me, and maybe what I was asking was, maybe that was a step too far, but now I understand what you're reporting back on, and in terms of what marketing is able to accomplish. And we have a blog on this, the 5 principles for setting marketing goals. Number 1 is you need to understand the questions and the interests of your audience.
Yeah.
That's the executive team.
Yeah. Well, I must pull you up on the fact that I don't call them blogs. I call them blog articles, but that's okay.
That's all right.
It's a hill I die on a regular basis. No, but and I like the way you're promoting our content. I should really do more of that. Well done, Jeff. But just to be clear about what you're saying here is, it's often you're going to be reporting to like the CEO or something like that, and there'll be a head of sales, and your total focus is on communicating and connecting with them, but you miss out. I think what you're saying is that discovery process is with all the executive team.
Oh, absolutely.
Not just with, who you normally expect, the revenue focused folks, right?
Because you never know who's going to have the knife that goes in the back.
My comment on this when I saw the show notes was cold. It's just like, and also, it touches on the thing we just mentioned, and it's interesting. This is a conversation. It's nice to close out the year probably with you with a conversation that's really about our greatest hits, almost, right? Because it's exactly that thing. Because marketing effectiveness seems to be built on perceptions of how effective we are at marketing rather than on the data of what we're doing. So it's really important that you educate everybody on the goals and what you're achieving. And the other thing is, to your point earlier as well, is that you're sitting at the top table, not as the best person at marketing, but as a contributing executive that can help with strategy, right? If you're just the most senior marketer in the business and you're sitting at that table, then you're going to be seen as the short order cook who's going to go do the marketing as you're told, sort of thing, right? Yeah. So that's the challenge, and that then, if you then, I think there's a delicate balance with what you're saying with interviewing the different executives, because I think you need to set that expectation that you're not just going to do what they say, because as you say, everybody's got an opinion about marketing and they all know how it works. Because if you fall into that people pleaser type role, then you end up doing stuff to please them, but it's not actually, it goes against your marketing instincts and it's not going to be effective. And then that's a bad spiral, because even though you're pleasing them, you'll be fired for a different purpose, already one or two, right? And
well, rarely
you didn't deliver the results. You delivered on the thing that they wanted to do. They wanted a tick face strategy or something, but it didn't, or more video or more cowbell or whatever it is. But actually, and so I think that's what happens, isn't it? The CMO pays the price at those companies.
Well, typically you don't earn respect by just taking the short orders and fulfilling. Yeah. You earned respect by saying, I think I understand what you're asking for. What you really want is X. Yeah. And so this is what we're going to do, deliver X. Do you agree? Yes, no. Okay, let's have this discussion so that I'm not being asked to do something that's beyond the reality for marketing.
Yeah, I think this is what we also discussed when we were talking about these goals, was when you talk to these executives, or whenever we talk about goals, the surprising answer is often they don't know.
And that is a problem.
I think you can be judged as a CMO against a set of perceptions about what marketing will achieve, and they don't have their own goals sorted out. So unless you can sort of align, and sometimes I think when you sort of say, well, what are the OKRs for the business? That actually sets off a conversation that happens at that senior team. Say, oh, okay, yeah, we need a vision, we need goals. Well, let me know what they are, because I'll key into those, right?
Yeah.
So I think that, so that was number 3. The CMO did not earn the respect of senior executive leadership team. What's number 4?
The CMO did a poor job communicating a strategic function for the marketing function. So this earned a 41% score. And my only surprise with this was not one of the top 3, because it's like, I would think that, this would be, I don't know if it's job 1, but this is like, you've got to, in order to earn the respect, in order to communicate that you've provided value, et cetera, you got to say, hey, marketing is a strategic function. Companies got strategies. We got strategies to support those. We're trying to tie everything together. And we did an episode, I can't remember which one it was, I didn't put it in, but where you say, if you bring this all the way down to the individual, review goals, it's like then you've gained some alignment, and you have everybody thinking about strategy and executing on that strategy. So, we've often talked about this aligned marketing strategy, business strategy, and then communicating how the campaigns, the motions, the goals of marketing align to those strategies. And this is really CMO 101 training. And I'm not sure, I don't know. I know a number of CMOs who don't think they actually got this training. But, if you communicate this succinctly, you can communicate any changes that have to happen. This goes back to the being agile part, is like, if you're clear on communicating, how your marketing aligns to the business priorities, then when the business priorities change or the market dynamics change, then you can make a story about how marketing is going to change to support that. As you said, I've noted a number of our past pieces of content. So episode 127, we covered marketing strategy and the difference of strategy with planning, tightly tied together, but they are different. So go back and
I've got a lot of links
to that.
Yeah, I've got a lot of links to put into the show notes.
Yeah, but sorry for creating the job for you.
Easy. I can cut and paste with the best of them, mate. It's all good. But I am completely in agreement with you, mate, because I'm surprised because the first 3, to me, when you sort of scratch at the surface a little bit, as we've done here, it seems to be all about communications. And so it had me wondering who created this survey and how and who filled it in, because this is critical, right? The communication thing is. But I guess if you're going to ask somebody at face value why they lost their CMO, they're going to give a particular response, they're not really going to have thought, well, actually, I don't think we were communicating, are they? They're going to go, well, they did this wrong or that wrong, I suppose.
That is that's the problem with surveys, as opposed to other ways of gathering data, is that you are getting the impression. Now, but that's important to get the impressions that the senior executive have. It might not have been the real answer. It could have been that he was fooling around with the CEO's admin, and but I can't say that in the survey.
And the or she. Or it could have been.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, we're in those times at the moment. Where was I? You've completely distracted me there. We're fooling around with people's secretaries. That's not fair, is it? Yes, but it's the old thing that we talk about, which is marketing the marketing, isn't it? So it's that we need to, and we often forget because we get on the hamster wheel where we know, because it's obvious to us what needs to be done and what's being done, and we're seeing the results. But not everybody on the senior team will understand that value, and they won't. And we're going to use words. We're going to use our marketing-y words and talk about the goals and the metrics and all that kind of stuff. But we need to connect that with what's important to them, which I think is a common theme, isn't it? The last three as well. So number 4, the CMO did a poor job communicating a strategic function for marketing function. Weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's number 5?
Well, I think that's a excellent follow-on to what we were just talking about, because the CMO failed to communicate how marketing metrics relate to business priorities. And this was scored 31%. So again, a fallout from reasons 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it applies to your executive reporting strategy. You're reporting, via dashboards, PowerPoints, whatever you're using, you got to tell the story. The business needs to do X, marketing supports it with Y, our goals are Z, and here's our progress on those goals. Yeah. And if you can't tell the story in a succinct way, and you're just trying to dazzling them with dashboards and the ability to drill down into the data that they don't really understand, then it may fall on deaf ears. So in our I can't remember if this was a blog or a podcast. I think it was both. 5 fundamentals of marketing OKRs. I think that was the blog. We outlined this relationship. And the challenge, which actually you mentioned before, is if the company goals are poorly defined, or sometimes there's too many. It's like, if there's 20 goals, then it's like nothing's a priority. Then the CMO really should be the one to take the bull by the horns and define and communicate the relationship, is that this is what I understand is important to the business, and this is what we're going to do to support it. And that may be being a nudge to your executives, and that could earn you their respect, or it could earn you the door. But the failure to do so, certainly, the failure to make this connection is certainly will eventually cost you your job.
Yeah, and I think that is the basic challenge, isn't it? That it's about that confidence, isn't it? And I think that how do I put this? Marketing hasn't got that sort of rigorous reputation as a discipline, and I think that we're often very defensive about that. And I think that sometimes it's very hard to be bold sometimes and say, no, this is the way to go. This is what we need to do. And where are your goals? Where are your, what the fuck is this business doing? That probably takes us back to, where was it? What was it? Number 1, they failed to adapt to a vital change in the business or something. Anyway, so that was number 5, wasn't it? CMO failed to communicate how marketing metrics relate to the business priorities. And wow, man, it's a great 5 for us, and I'm glad you summarized it down from 7 to 5 because I think they've started repeating themselves at number 2. So because I think we could have summarized that Gartner list down to 1. How many times did we say communication through this conversation so far about this? Yeah. So I think what we're saying is communicate better and don't get fired, which is ironic, really, because we're in the craft of marketing and we are communication professionals.
Marketing is nothing but communication.
Yeah. So what's your summary from that?
So I was thinking of the quote, what we have here is a failure to communicate, which is a line from the movie Cool Hand Luke.
Yeah.
And it's, it's in both directions because CMOs have to manage up and down. So you have to understand your C-level colleagues and what they want from marketing. And then you got to communicate, what you can deliver. And then you got to help your team understand the priorities in delivering and what they need to do. And then you got to report it back, job done or job done, except for, we missed this and here's why we missed that. And here's what we're going to do to course correct. Yeah. So it is all about communication.
But and also if you've got, we've talked about this before as well, is your goals and your objectives and all that stuff can work as like your sort of train lines or your guardrails, can't they, for when you do get these requests come in. And that's and when you look at some of this communication stuff, the perception of lack of effectiveness is, well, I wanted more video and I didn't get more video. And what the marketer may have failed to share is, well, that won't actually move the needle. And by the way, what would you like me not to do in order to, you need to have that structure, don't you, in place, and then the communication is better. So that's very good. And we rattled through those, I think, because maybe we should have expanded on some of them, but we rattled through those. That's quite a quick one for us.
Yeah, so. Just to let the listener know, I mean, the number 6 and 7 was CMO fail to demonstrate continuous improvement. So a lot of that is just making your team, be able to work effectively. And the CMO took on responsibilities they were not capable of executing. Back to my point of like, if you don't have personally the skill, then you need to get it on board to do something that the business is asking.
Yeah, and I think you kind of touched on this earlier as well, which is that often CMOs, nowadays marketing has become quite a siloed and fractured discipline. You've got people who are focused on content or lead or demand generation, all that kind of stuff. And I think when you step up from one of those disciplines into a leadership role, you've got to make sure you've got the other bases covered, right? Either strong people below you, or you actually do a lot of your own enablement in order to figure out what's going on. Yeah, good
absolutely.
Point. All right, so the final agenda item is, what song are we going for this week, Jeff? It's your turn to pick.
Yeah, my turn. I fought the law, and actually that's the title, but then And the Law Won, which The Clash made a big hit in 1978. Originally, I did, because I know it came out before that. Buddy Holly and the Crickets did the first version of this back, I don't know what year that was, but anyway, The Clash made it big, and they say, guess my race is run. So, and that's where, if this happens to you and you're a CMO, then it's like you got to pick yourself up and say, okay, get the next gig, learn from my mistakes, do it again.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for this trauma therapy, Jeff. I will be missing you.
The great thing about being fired is that, as you said, like with Grant Johnson, it's like he's a 7-time CMO. Well, obviously, some of those worked out really well. Some of them, it's like, okay, it's time to move on. How do you get to be 7-time if you're, don't get fired?
We need to wear our scars with pride, I guess.
That's right.
All right, mate. So when you're back, like the first week in January or something like that?
Yes, I am.
It's in a couple of weeks. It's only in 3 weeks or something, isn't it? So I shall see you then. Enjoy your trip. And I'm sure on behalf of the listeners, we wish you well. And
happy holidays to everybody out there.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll speak to you soon, man.
See ya.
Breaking rocks in a hot sun. I fought for law and a law won. I fought for law and a law won. I needed money 'cause I had none. I fought for law and a law won. I fought for law and a law won.
Thank you, Jeff. And that was a little bit of I Fought the Law by The Clash. And I will include all the links that Jeff and I referred to there in the show notes. Clearly, Gartner believes that lack of communication is a key reason for getting fired. But I also think we need to stay very close to the needs of the business, the state of the market, and the company's health so we can preempt some of these challenges. So that's a wrap on episode 247 of the Rockstar CMO effing marketing podcast. Thank you for dropping a dime into your podcasting jukebox, selecting our track, and jiving along with us. I've been your host, Ian Truscott, and you can find links to contact me and Jeff and all the things we discussed in the show notes on rockstarcmo.com, as well as our blog, newsletter, and all of our previous episodes. Finally, I'd love to hear from you, so please say hello. If you connect on LinkedIn, please say you're a listener, or email me at ian@rockstarcmo.com. And of course, if you like this, help spread the word by rating or reviewing us in your favourite podcast app, or just keep listening. I'm glad you're here. Next week, Kathy McKnight is in the studio to discuss personas, and Robert Rose will be back in the bar. Until then, have a great week, and I hope you can join us here next week on Rockstar CMO FM.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Hennika Watkis-Porter hosts The Entrepreneurial You, empowering entrepreneurs with insights on leadership, business, and success. Hennika, tell listeners what to expect from your show.
So we provide innovative business strategies and practical solutions to common entrepreneurial challenges.
And where can people subscribe?
Find us at hennikawatkisporter.com, as well as the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcasts.net, or search for it wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard her. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.